Part 4 of cellular memory. In the past years, we have included in our module the ability to test for miasms. And we'll do that again during your immersion. I am so grateful for the experience of the clinical research that I've done with miasms, but more so my own personal process of really understanding the bioenergetic body in a whole new way. We are able to do whatever we want from the outside in. And so I just want to put a few guidelines here, but know that as you apply new things, you'll learn based on what happens over time, right? That's what a laboratory is. And the more we understand about the different dimensional levels and how we fit in a fractal and just all the different aspects like that. I want you to know that we've been working on the different miasmic levels all along. If you've been using the energetics remedies or complex homeopathy that have components, homeopathics in them that are similar to these are the ones that are going to specifically desensitize the veil. They can work on the underlying issue, but the final steps of veil work it's an inside-out process. So I'm including this chart at the beginning of part 4 of cellular memory just so that you know that you're already handling all this. Okay, so you can set miasms aside for whenever you're ready to come back to them. Let's go in. Same thing with constitutional homeopathy. You can use that whenever you want to, but we're working at the core blueprint. And so it fits within the cellular repair part of the healing template. When we begin to wrap up this part with cellular memory, just looking at the mental and emotional factors, what are you using right now? Do people understand that emotions are energy in motion? They're a shared experience, but it has nothing to do with sensation. Okay? So when we look at the difference here, as we begin to create a language of love, we started to create a language of emotion several decades ago, and we moved from most people knowing sad, bad, mad, and glad to having a whole range of words for different emotions. We know that anything that is an emotion, it is energy in motion. It's designed to move. And so we have a rainbow of emotions that are related to the different levels and frequencies in the earth cycle. There's not positive emotions and negative ones. They're just different aspects of light. So I want to be really clear about that because we spend a lot of time in the dual state trying to fix people. These are bad emotions, these are good ones. Instead of thinking about your story, drop your story and just start to focus on what you want. Well, it's how you withhold energy in the circuit that is the level that we're talking about right now, because there's really only one sin, only one misuse of your body, and that is to withhold energy, to withhold light. It perpetuates separation. We came here to be all in, to shine as brightly as we could, regardless of the outer circumstances, regardless of the level of separation. So use whatever tools work for you. Use what works, but just think about the how, the what, and the why. And from there, we can begin to work on your menu of services. Maybe you have a bunch of different techniques on there. Maybe you're doing emotion code, or maybe you're doing NLP, and every time I start mentioning this kind of stuff, you guys start Googling and going off in different directions. And that's fine. But I'm mentioning it just to highlight the point that there are 1,000 ways to do the same thing. And there's lots of outside in methods that are going to give you more experience, but ultimately it's going to lead you right back to your body, to your own intuition, to sitting in your seat. And what that means is that you're anchored firmly, vertical polarity is on, and you know who you are. You're no longer wanting to fix anyone, but you are in a step back way, but a connected one. And so you're connected with everything, but you see the field as a reflection of your own divine, sacred, integrated body, your crystal. So you're receiving the current from the inside out, it's radiating out into the field, and then you're receiving the bounty through what unfolds in front of your very eyes. The way to co-create with your light body, your Christ self, the higher part of you that hasn't merged fully yet or consistently, it's one of the areas where you have a conversation and you set an internal triangular agreement. That's where I use the upper triangle. It's where I use my why. I am love. I am love. I am here to fulfill love. And, from there, you know that the resources are going to be delivered because you've stated the intention and you are a co-creator. If you doubt it, or if you go into arrogance, then it's not going to work, and we default to the downward spiral. So we have our meditation, and then we go out and we create through codependency. And wherever we are in the process, we're looking at integrating our entire life so that we're no longer misusing or hemorrhaging our light, that we are expressing fully instead of hiding and manipulating. Okay? So use whatever you need to in the circuit. We can imprint emotions into water, into remedies. You can even muscle test through emotions. Okay? But why would you be doing that? And what's the benefit? Because the more conversations you have with people and the more outside-in techniques you have with people, the fewer people you can serve. So boot camp for your practice through the college cycle means doing more with less. So trim your tools back. What I'm proposing here is practice with a few things. Be a master of one thing, and that is knowing yourself. Look at any of the techniques, the devices, the equipment, the labs, any of that you're running that is taking up too much of your resources at this point, to where you can't integrate some of the simplicity of holding the space. We want to look at getting your pricing right and all of that, but we start to look at the menu of services here. So this brings us to flower essence therapy, because it's such an easy way to incorporate so much. You can trim down all the emotional support that you have been offering along the way and just use fields of flowers and reset. If you want to go a little bit more deeply, then you can test for flower essences. We know that flower essences came from Edward Bach, and he was a homeopath medical doctor who became sensitive. His intuition lit up, and he had the ability to connect with flowers enough to understand how they work with the neuroendocrine system. Okay? So there's sacred geometry involved. You can look at the shapes and the colors. But ultimately, there are 12 main remedies. And so this little chart here you see in the middle, the flower essence name and the virtue, that means the full expression. If somebody is aligned with this flower essence, that there will be more love, empathy, peace, steadfastness, gentleness, strength, understanding, tolerance, wisdom, forgiveness, courage, and happiness. On the lack, these are symptoms. So restraint, fear, restlessness, indecision, indifference, weakness, doubt, overenthusiasm, ignorance, impatience, terror, and grief. You really can use this as a natural pharmacy. You can stock your shelves with fields of flowers, and it's in there. They already have it in there. But if you hang this up somewhere, then they have a little cheat sheet that helps them to understand what each one of the 12 main flower essences are vibrationally and according to sacred geometry. So really simple way we're going to use this chart in our immersion to test for different flower essences, okay? So how do we use all this information? This is all extra fluff until you know who you are and you can hold the space for the healing process to happen, which means it's a listening space, and you can plant a seed, the right seed at the right time for the individual. Then we move into the testing aspect, where we're doing the pre-testing and providing opening channels. And then from there, we can do customized detoxes. And this will be more of the work that we can get into down the road, where you might see how it weaves into your menu of services in a really unique way. It's totally up to you. See what happens over time. Okay? I suggest that you clean the water, repair the boundary of the cell, and then we get in and start looking at the constitution, the veil, the interplay of the cells relative to the whole light body. The invisible precedes the visible. So in the cellular repair phases, we're clearing signatures, right? Clearing signatures. As the body fills with light, we become a master incarnate. And then we're no longer playing the games of creating with matter in the state of separation, blind eye, misusing, fixing, forcing. All right, so this is a great toolkit to use before you send someone out the door onto a healthy maintenance program. We can imprint any of this into a homeopathic remedy. We've been talking about how to imprint already. You have the steps for that. You can also go back and check for the frequency later and see if it's shifted if you want. This opens the door to so much more as a bioenergetic practitioner. When I just mastered the basics of the physical form, being able to use bioenergetic assessment to validate what I knew as an intuitive, it opened up a new level of conversation to where some of the questions that would come in and some of the people that I was attracting in, it took us right into the Akashic record. And that's the fifth dimension. It's where the whole Earth cycle is recorded. How you've related to others in other Earth suits through different incarnations. So there's so much that we can do here, but I always step back and ask, why? What's the intention? So we want to have a toolkit, just a incredible room full of tools, crystals and sound therapy and homeopathy, and maybe you have foot baths, an adjustment table. Depending on who you are, create a sanctuary. Maybe you're doing it all by phone. And if that's true, which are the tools that you're going to use by phone? How are you going to give them access to the tools? Do you have a website where they can purchase heart math? These are things to think about. Do know that as we come to this part of the program where we're really looking at your blueprint, who you are, we are in the process of putting together more support programs. It's the conversations that we have together that will create the flow system for those people that will come on after you. So I look forward to co-creating more. And just before we end today, the healing template is a spiral, isn't it? And it's spiraling up. Yeah. And so anytime we spiral up, we are headed home. We are ascending. We have the water that purifies with step 1, 2, and 3. And from the water, we can carry the electromagnetic current, the signal, in to address the individual cells, the individual microbes in the microbiome. We can even get into the organelles of the cell. In cellular repair, this is bioenergetic stem cell therapy. Okay? It's the original blueprint, and we use energy medicine, resonance, sound, color, homeopathy to be able to test along with having the individual turn their gaze inwards. And from there, we're in the state of healthy maintenance. We put together the right programs for the individual to be able to maintain based on their level of investment with elements on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so we'll get into that more later. Much love until next time. Bye for now.